Hi, I'm Lauren.
And I'm Matt.
And this is Publish and Prosper,
Where publishing, e-commerce, and marketing collide.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Publish and Prosper. And welcome back to today's co-host. Our wonderful email marketing manager, Lori, is back for another episode of the Lori and Lauren Email Marketing Podcast.
So excited. Thank
Yay.
you for having me back.
Thank you for being willing to come back.
Yeah, all the time, anytime.
I'm gonna put you to the test on that one. Secret insider, look, this is our second attempt at recording this episode. So while it's Lori's second time on air, it's her third time in the studio with me, and she still isn't sick of me. So thank you.
Yeah, it's all good. I'm excited, and hopefully it'll be even better than the first time we recorded this.
I think it will be, which is going to be a tough bar to reach, because I think that episode was really good. I just screwed up the audio. So
That episode is really good, and this is going to be better.
Yes,
that's
it is.
kind of the point of us recording it
absolutely,
for a second time.
Absolutely, it is. I would use the first one if it wasn't for the fact that for a solid 20 minutes of the episode, you can hear me typing. And I just couldn't do that to my listeners or myself.
Oh
So,
my gosh, it happens.
Yeah.
We got to work around it.
Yeah. I mean, hey, sometimes you gotta just figure out how to roll with the punches. Even the best laid plans, sometimes you gotta pivot last minute.
It's true.
Which also explains why, if anyone actually made it to the end of a recent episode where I teased that the next episode was going to be me and Lori, and then the next episode was not me and Lori, this is why. So
Nice. I didn't think about that, but yeah, I guess
I
diehard listeners,
Yeah.
if they found that out, I should buy you a coffee or something.
No, I should buy you a coffee. Are you kidding me? I'm making you do double work.
Pumpkin spice.
All right.
Okay.
I got you.
I am that
Okay.
basic girly.
Good save. I mean, we are. If you look at it, we're fully prepared for fall here. You're in your cozy flannel. I've got my Halloween sweater on. We're committing. It might be 78 degrees outside.
Sadly,
but we're here. We are in fall. Today, we thought we would talk about how to approach planning and executing a email marketing campaign. This is something that we may or may not have timed intentionally, because we are around that time of year where you might be doing a big marketing push in the next coming weeks or months. Maybe not, though. Maybe you don't have any plans for any Black Friday or holiday sales campaigns or anything like that, but you are planning ahead for your next book launch or product launch or something else where you might be reaching out to your email list for not just a one-off email, but an actual campaign series of emails. And so we wanted to talk through a little bit what that would look like, what that process looks like, and what you can do to make sure that you are maximizing your reach and your email marketing efforts.
yeah. And I love the emphasis on good for holiday, good for book launch, good for any kind of push outside of your normal schedule.
Yeah, I think that's something that we'll definitely kind of talk through on here, is that we are talking about something that's outside of your normal email cadence.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not talking about your regular, whether you send a newsletter or you are currently just using your email as send out an email when I have something to say, but not on a regular basis. Whatever that may be, we're talking about a dedicated push right now where you're really going to be putting in some effort, which is why you also have to start with putting in some serious work on the planning.
Exactly.
So, and you can't just start moving furniture around your loft willy-nilly without a plan, because it doesn't work that way.
You could, but you might waste a lot of time, and you could be a lot more efficient and happy with your results. If you do have a plan, you have a goal, and then you execute.
I think that's the way to go.
We're going to take this whole like remodeling your loft theme through the rest of the episode.
This is going to be the episode that Matt and I failed to do the craft your curb appeal for your brand. We dropped that metaphor like 15 minutes into the episode. It's going to make its reappearance now in this one.
I love that.
Yeah, but so I think what we're going to talk through, just kind of high level look here, just making sure we're clear about why you want to set up or take the time to set up your email campaign. So we want to talk through why it's important to plan ahead and prep for your email campaign. And then we're going to talk through kind of like a pre-campaign planning timeline. I think we set up a 2-month window. Of course, if you're listening to this and you're saying 2 months, I have 2 weeks. Like, okay, we can work with that. But we're going to give you a 2-month timeline for how to approach this. And then some ideas for what you can do after that campaign is live and you are monitoring it and then reviewing your results at the end. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right. Let's get started.
Let's do it.
All right. So just to kind of talk through a little bit about why you might want to do some prep work here, why you can't just dive right in and start. What are some of the risks kind of that you think people are taking if they don't plan ahead?
Yeah, if you're not planning for your campaign and like a big launch, then you're risking lower engagement. If you're going to increase your campaign frequency, which generally you're going to do for a launch, you can end up in having deliverability issues if you don't kind of ramp up and plan for that increase of sends. And then the biggest thing I would say is like, if you're not prepared, you're not segmenting your audience appropriately, and you don't have a goal for your campaign or your launch, which means you don't really have something that's propelling the campaign forward, which kind of then bounces back to like, if you're not clear with what your campaign is trying to achieve, your click-through or your call to action is going to most likely be a little bit confusing for the recipient, because, if I'm just like throwing a bunch of stuff in an email, the recipient is not going to know where to focus. So that's a couple ways that you kind of throw yourself, under the bus.
So basically, like you're running the risk of, in one way or another, discouraging your subscribers. So either you're putting yourself in a position where your subscribers are not going to be getting high value content from you, so they're going to be less likely to open future emails, or you're putting yourself in a position where inbox filters are going to filter your emails out before they even get in front of your subscribers, because you're not following email best practices with the way you're sending them.
Yeah, that's a real possibility, especially if you're not regularly sending emails right now.
Yeah. So
that's just a few things.
But it sounds like pretty important things.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So definitely want to plan ahead on stuff like that. Do you think that there's like kind of general mistakes that you see people making within this, whether it is like not planning or other things that they might like be doing wrong, or is it kind of hard to narrow that down?
I think kind of touching on a little bit what I just said, like with the segmenting, you want to have your data kind of compiled so you know exactly who's going to get the email. If you've got, a couple different versions of products or campaigns that you're going to send, and you want to target those emails to the appropriate audience, you want to take those steps to make sure that's all in line. And it is a big mistake to just like blast your entire list with everything. And then just very much at a high level, like probably aren't going to go into detail on this, but just having accessibility in mind, because, you want the content easy to read, easy to access, and just making that language very simple and straightforward. So, the action is easy to take whenever it lands in somebody's inbox.
Yeah. You want them to like do what it is you want them to do.
Right.
And if you're not clear on what that is, then no one's going to have a good time. Yeah. Like, oh, sorry. I opened your email, but beyond that, I got so lost or couldn't read your text on the background color or couldn't tell which button was the button that you wanted me to click because I couldn't tell what the CTA was. So, yeah. Some things that you're going to want to do in general when it comes to planning for a campaign, not necessarily within your timeline that you're working on that pre-campaign planning, but just high-level things that you're going to want to do. Primarily is set a goal for your campaign, right? So what are some of the goals that people would set? Like, what do we mean by that?
Excuse me. Well, the first thing you think of is like open rates and click rate and conversions, which are all things that you're going to want to keep in mind. And hopefully you're tracking those metrics over the course of, the year or whatever, however long you've been sending your email. So you can compare that to how your campaign performed. But kind of taking it a step further than that, it's like, I want to sell X number of books with this campaign, or I want to have, X number of downloads. So having a more concrete goal, I think, is one really kind of good way to look at it first and kind of go beyond the like, oh, I want to increase my click rate by 0.5% or 1% or whatever, like have it be more concrete than that. And then, if you are running a sale or a discount, you want to get, X number of uses on that coupon code and kind of take your goals from there. I mean, there's a lot of different goals that you could set, but that's generally where I would start. But, depending on what your author brand is or your creator brand or whatever it is, your goal is going to be unique to you. So it doesn't have to be from that list that I just mentioned.
Right, of course. But I will emphasize your point that you made that you need to be tracking these before you start the campaign, because you will not know if the campaign was successful if you didn't know what your starting metrics were. Right. Yeah. That's the word, your baseline. Thank you. Yeah. So you definitely want to know that, and you definitely want to make sure you have that available to you. So if for whatever reason you're not, I mean, these metrics should all be available in your email service provider.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't imagine that there's any out there that doesn't have at least the basic bare minimum metrics within them.
Yeah, I would hope not.
I mean, yeah, why are you using that if it's...
Yeah, immediately shut that down if you are. But yeah, it makes it really easy, but it's good to kind of look at. You could even go back and look if you've, ran a campaign previous to the one you're working on now. You can go back and look at the performance specifically for that campaign or that launch, or you can go back and look at, Q4 of last year and how your marketing performed during that time, and try to kind of like set your goals around what you did previously.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if this is cyclical in any way. Mm-hmm. Like if this is a recurring campaign in any, whether it's an annual campaign, every time you put out a new book, whatever, like having specific goals for this campaign, and then also like year over year or month over month or campaign over campaign, I guess. Like that's a good thing to look at.
Right.
For sure. You're also just in general, and we'll talk through this more as we get into this timeline now, but obviously if you are going to do an email marketing campaign, now's a really good time to try to up your efforts to get subscribers to your email
your
list.
Acquisition.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, anything that you can do that isn't necessarily tied to this campaign, but if you have, make sure that just double check that your subscribe form is set up correctly, that everything looks good on your website, that if you have it linked anywhere, that link is still active, that link hasn't broken over some, sometimes social media, you'll be so blind to your own link in bio that you never check it. And then you go click on it and you realize that like somewhere a character got deleted and that link hasn't been working for who knows how long.
Yeah, that happens to literally all of us. So, Yeah, it's a good time to start auditing those things
Yes,
ahead of your acquisition efforts.
absolutely. So whenever it is that you're ready to get started, again, this is we're gonna present to you a 2-month outline, but and we'll kind of explain as we go through it a little bit why we're putting a 2-month time frame on this, and we're not saying this is something that you should do in 48 hours, but if you have a month, if you have a few weeks, whatever, you can still do it. Don't sit here and go, oh my gosh, what do you mean 2 months? This campaign has to start next week. Like,
Right.
okay, there's still time, but
Yeah.
if you have the time, if you're listening to this now for a campaign that you're planning on doing in January, take notes.
Or in October or November.
Or
I mean, the main thing is it's like, listen to this episode. There's a lot of good content out of it. The best thing you can do for yourself is to plan as far in advance as you possibly can. But if you're, like you said, in the middle of a campaign or launch that's happening much quicker, like just pull out what makes sense to you from this episode and use more of it next time.
Yes. Yes. I know a lot of the pushback that I get from people that don't like planning, and even sometimes Matt on air has pushed back a little bit on the idea of like, if you plan too far in advance, you're not leaving yourself any room for like creativity, or you're not leaving yourself any room for like, what if something like comes up out of nowhere that you really want to talk about? Like, something related to your campaign comes up, or related to your book or your brand or whatever, comes up in the news and is a hot topic of conversation, and you've locked yourself so thoroughly into a content plan that you don't have room to talk about that thing. I would argue that a campaign like this, that you're laying out the effort like this, isn't the kind of thing that you want to have impulse content in. And there is room for, like, we will talk about once the campaign is live and you reach that point where you have to make on the fly edits and adjustments and changes and be reactive like that. But I would say that something like this, if you're planning it out ahead of time, it gives you more time to have that creativity and flexibility in your other content, in your other, like in a one-off email that you might send that isn't a part of this campaign, in other like social content or whatever it is, whatever your main content channel is. So
Yeah. And I mean, I would also like kind of piggyback off that. If you are prepared and you are planning your, steps out in advance, it does give you more flexibility when something does come up. If you're like, oh, actually, like, I can't miss this opportunity, I am going to like kind of divert my plan a little bit. It's a lot easier to do that when things are kind of teed up.
Yep.
Versus kind of a haphazard, like reactive response to those things. Yeah, because you can shift things around, and then you can always, they're ready to go whenever you've got them. But
yeah, and some of the first things we're going to talk about here are things that are not creative pursuits or content-based strategy or stuff like that. They are things like optimizing your email list, which that is the beginning and the end of what I know about optimizing your email list. So Lori, why don't you take that one on? Because I'm not going to pretend to stumble my way through that.
Yeah, I mean, so optimizing your list, this is something that you should be doing, on a quarterly basis, a couple times a year, if at minimum. But you're constantly growing your list, but a lot of people aren't thinking about, kind of cleaning up the list and making sure your list is optimized to your most engaged contacts.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you've got something coming up, you're going to want to go into your account, create a segment of people who have subscribed at least a year ago. And within that past year, you've sent them 12 emails, for example, and they have not clicked or opened any of those emails, then suppress those users. You might decide to take a segment of that, maybe within the past 6 to 9 months, and maybe you want to give them a year, and kind of create another segment that you're going to, these are people who are clicking, but they're not really making purchases. They're engaging in some way, but they haven't like fully dropped off your engagement list. Then those people, you might want to send them a re-engagement email. And that can look like, hey, like, are you still around? Do you still want to stay subscribed? And have them take an action to remain on your list. And if they don't take that action, you can decide to suppress them. You don't want to delete them though, because when you delete them, their like data's gone. All the attributes to their profile is gone. So if they decide to come back later, which by the way, they can always resubscribe later, and that's fine. But if you delete them, then like you just have no way to go back and look at that data later. But cleaning the list and optimizing and making sure that you're only sending to, people who are going to engage with your email is going to help your deliverability. It's going to help reach the people that actually want to hear from you and want to buy your book, or, whatever it is that you're sending through email. And this is one area that you don't need to do 2 months out. Like, you can do it today if you're launching something next week.
I mean, hey, take this as a sign, no matter what you're doing, even if you're not planning on doing a campaign in the next 8 months.
Yeah.
If you can't remember the last time that you did any kind of like hygiene maintenance on your email list, take this episode as a sign to put that on your to-do list for this week.
Yeah.
There you go. Why would somebody not want to just blast an email out to their entire list? Why would they want to segment out or suppress people that are like non-active subscribers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, for the non-active subscribers, if you continue to send them emails and they continue to not open, continue to not click, that then sends a signal to the inbox provider, so Gmail or Yahoo, or do people use Hotmail anymore? I don't know.
Oh.
Like, whoever you use to check your emails, that sends a message to them that says, oh, okay, like my customer, who's the person that owns the email address, they don't want to get this email. They're not opening. They're not engaging with it. So we're just not even going to let it hit the inbox. So that will happen. It does happen. It happens to, everybody, large brands and solopreneurs.
So you're basically just increasing your odds of getting shuffled directly into the spam folder, and then it's
or bouncing,
or that, and then it's twice as hard to win back that real estate that you lost by getting put back into a primary inbox.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the other part of your question, it was, blasting your whole list. Ideally, you have subscribers with all different backgrounds and preferences. And even if it's down to like the time of day that you send the email, you can segment your list. So if you've got people from different parts of the world, you can segment and time that email to go out on a certain, my 8 a.m. is not the same as, somebody on the other side of the world that's sending to them at midnight. So that's just a very, very basic way of segmenting. And those are, it'll go a lot deeper than that, but just kind of refreshing your data and making sure that when you are ready to send that campaign, it's going to the people that are going to engage with it. And then also it's, your messaging is catered to a certain segment based on, the information that you've either collected up front when they subscribe. So they're like giving you those preferences. I mentioned the re-engagement email that you can send. If you're not collecting data that you can then segment, then start doing that now, and you can put that in your onboarding. So either, like I said, when you subscribe, you can have like a drop down where someone can select from, whether it's like the topic that they're most interested in that you talk about, or the service that you're selling, or the type of book, or, maybe it's even their birthday or whatever it is, like collect that information up front. And if you don't get that at sign up, you can put it into your welcome series so that you can use that data to then segment later. And it just personalizes the message a bit more, whether it's, their preference or based on location, for example.
Well, and you never really know without asking, because we've talked about this in other episodes, both the episode that you and I did, and then Matt and I have talked about this in other episodes about like you don't really know what your customers want until you ask them.
Mm-hmm. Well, and shout out to our friend Robbie from Marketing Rhythm, because that's one thing that he talks about too,
Yes.
picking up. Are you making these purchases for a gift or for yourself or for your business? And you might see that come through Lulu emails, and it's the same thing,
Yes.
We're able to personalize the message based on those answers.
Yes. Shout out to Robbie, who
Shout
was
out.
just a recent guest on the Live from CEX episode and shared some very interesting insight into the data that we're talking about right now.
Right.
So absolutely, go give that episode a listen if you haven't. Robbie is the last interview in it, but I'm not going to tell you to skip ahead to his because all the other ones are really good too.
Yeah.
And also shout out to our friend Mark, because we do have a friend Mark who is also at CEX. And I think he and Laura both listen to this podcast. So shout out to them.
Yes. Shout out to everybody at CEX.
Yeah, that too.
Another place that you can kind of like plan ahead and get yourself all set up is updating your email templates. So,
Yes.
And again, this is something that you can be doing at any time of the year, not just for a big launch, but it helps you when you are going to set a few emails up for your campaign. So, ensuring you've got the consistency and format to help you establish your brand identity, your visual identity, where people will recognize the email, whether that's it's not just your logo, but it's, the colors you use, the language you use, the kind of tone that you take in the email. So those are things to consider. Standardizing, when you open your email, most of the ESPs, the email service providers, whether you're using, MailChimp or Kit or Klaviyo or Flora or any other of the many options you have to choose from, a lot of them have like a drag and drop formatter that, you can kind of like set up the format of your email where you've got your logo, you've got your format Sorry, I said format like 5 times, so now I'm very much aware of that.
Words start to lose all meaning when you're on a podcast.
I think so.
So you're fine.
But yeah, you want to just set that template up so that everything's standardized, from your logo to the formatting to the font. Like, don't jump around to a bunch of different fonts, and also consider both the font and the color choices for legibility and accessibility.
Yeah, you're going to want to keep in mind, I don't remember if this is in the episode that is now lost forever or if it was in the episode that the first one that we recorded.
Mm-hmm.
But I learned this the hard way with having your phone in dark mode and getting Michael's coupons emailed to me.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't scan when your phone is in dark mode because it's a dark black or a dark gray background with a black like barcode over it, and there's not enough
contrast.
Thank you. That's exactly the word that I was looking for. There's not enough contrast in the two colors, so you have to switch your email back into light mode in order to scan those coupons in your email, which is not something that I ever would have thought about if I didn't have that experience. And you as a solopreneur or small business owner are probably not sending people barcode scan coupons, but there are still things that you're going to want to think about when it comes to designing your email templates and your branding and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead and test those in dark mode and light mode. Dark mode is really hard. There are people who are like email developers who work on that, and we're not all email developers, so we do our best. And so it's good to like test, like Lauren said, because you want to know if you're going to send an email out and the contrast just isn't there, so you can't actually read the email.
Right.
It's never going to be perfect, but you can work towards it at least being legible.
Right. Right. And especially if you're doing, we're talking again about preparing in advance, you want to make this as easy as possible for yourself. If you do all of the work and you design an email template and you draft ahead of time 10 emails that you're going to send out, and you do all of that stuff, you have everything ready to go, and then you send the first one out and somebody responds to it and says, I couldn't read this on my phone. Like the font was too small, or the color, the contrast between the font and the background was too different, or not different enough, or like for whatever reason, like something is wrong here in this email template. You don't want to have to go back and redo all of the work that you've already done.
Yeah.
And it's after you've already launched it. So
Right.
giving yourself the opportunity now to go in and update your email templates and then test what those look like gives you the time to make the adjustments that you need to before this campaign ever launches.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when it's done, and you can just use that same template for forever.
Forever, ever?
Forever, ever, ever.
Perfect.
And then another thing I would mention outside of branding is to start increasing your send frequency, which we did touch on. So if you're sending one time a month right now, if you're sending one time a month, work your way up to one time a week, or twice a month, and eventually get to the frequency that you're going to be going to at during this campaign or at launch. Again, because if you go from one email every other month or one email a month to 4 emails for a month-long campaign, then there's a possibility that your ESP is going to be flagged by Gmail or Yahoo or whoever the inbox is because of this inconsistency of frequency that you're sending emails to.
Right, which is one of the main reasons that we said that you want to start this planning ahead of time. You don't want to really start doing your pre-campaign prep a week out. You can if you have to, but you would like to be able to kind of gradually increase your email send over time.
Yeah.
Also, this is a lot of work to do in 1 week. So, just consider it. Something else that I think that for me, because I've already made the point repeatedly about how important it is to have access to your data, make sure that your data is tracking itself correctly right now. Make sure that your metric tracking tools are working. Make sure that all of those other technical details, like I also said with your email subscribe list, with your links on social or on your website, or if you have capture links in your ebooks, stuff like that, make sure those are all up to date, ready to go. Are like whatever your default footer is on your email, are those working properly? Like, just do that. Go through and do that technical audit to make sure that you're not about to put a whole bunch of work into something that is going to accidentally lead people to a dead end.
Right. Planning your pre-launch and your launch and kind of like developing your content schedule and the frequency and all of that can literally happen in an afternoon or take a couple hours. Make yourself a nice cup of coffee and kind of give yourself an outline for that. And that kind of then moves you into that phase of being ready to start your acquisition, like Lauren touched on, whether that's, on social, in ads, any way that you can to drive people to your subscribe opt-in page so that you can build your audience up ahead of time of the launch. Or maybe you're a podcast guest, or you have an event or something, or you, like you mentioned, Lauren, a code or like a QR code or sign up in a book. Obviously, if you've got a QR code in your book, you can update that landing page. Like you can change that. It doesn't have to remain the same. And so kind of starting that acquisition would be probably best done around a month out. But if you've only got a couple of weeks, just get to it as soon as you can, because you want to get your list kind of in prime position before you go live.
Yeah, I feel like this is that phase where we're like, we haven't quite committed to saying 1 month out yet, but it's in that gray. It's almost like 6 weeks out.
Yeah.
Like that's what, like, if we're doing a 2-month window, like, you know, this is the stuff that you should be doing in like the 5 weeks to go. Like in that window of time where you're like, okay, I've done my groundwork already from the 2 months out, but we're not quite in that under a month timeline yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, whether that's planning your actual campaign efforts. So, you know, planning out exactly what emails you're going to send, when you're going to send them, or planning out how you're going to increase your acquisition efforts, or planning out like what that increased send is going to look like between now and then. Because you also do have to do that. I don't think we've covered that in the last episode that we did. If you're going to be increasing your email frequency, you should probably come up with some content. You can't just send people like blank emails just for the sake of it. So here's that opportunity for you to come up with some fun, creative, on-the-fly content.
Yeah, that all kind of goes, I would say, in your pre-launch too, your pre-launch plan. You know, you can ramp up to that full launch. And part of that, you know, when we touched on in the beginning where it was like sending that re-engagement email, that's one part of that. Like you're just kind of like this onboarding ramp to increasing that frequency in your content, your schedule.
For sure. Also, like, this is the fun part, you know? I mean, this is the fun, coming up with the content or coming up with the copy and the graphics and the design of the emails for your campaign. This is your opportunity to not just be checking whether or not all your links are still working, but to actually have some fun and actually go through and say, hey, okay, what content am I going to be sending? How do I want to get this message across? Again, what is my goal for this campaign? What do I want people to do? If I want people to click on a link, how can I best entice them to do so? What's the best copy? What's the best CTA? What's the best design for doing that? If I'm trying to sell people on my book, how do I come up with the best elevator pitch possible to get them to buy this book, or at least to click on the learn more and check out my book here, or whatever. Mm-hmm. So this is where you get to have some fun with that.
Right. And you mentioned like, what's the best way to do it? Sometimes we just don't know. And so doing the A/B test is a good opportunity, and you can kind of learn what your audience is responding to before you do a big push on a launch or for a holiday promotion. And on top of that, just keeping in mind, like remembering that you want to give value to the person on the other side of the email, not just kind of like sending whatever fun content you want to give them. I mean, I think you mentioned weaving a story into to like lead into your email. You had that really great idea last time we chat. So that's, you know, bringing a story into it, bringing yourself into it, and providing valuable content, which I know is hammered home on this podcast a lot, but it is really important for email to, you know, provide that value so that people continue to open your emails.
Yeah, you don't want to do anything that's going to discourage people from opening your emails. That's, I mean,
that's a really good tip.
Yeah. Like, just don't do that.
Ew.
All right. Have we hit the 1 month mark yet?
Oh
Are we there yet?
I think we hit it. We're talking 1 month out.
Okay.
We've already kind of started to tease on social and in ads if you've got some money you want to put behind it. I mean, I don't think that's like the top choice for people for email acquisition, but you know, you can get your social audience engaged by teasing whatever it is that's coming up, like whether it is a book launch or, you know, get on our list because we're going to be sending out like our yearly promo if you only do it once a year or whatever it is, teasing that on social so you can get people over onto email so that, you know, they have the opportunity to be first dibs. You know, a lot of times email can be the place that like, it's almost like an exclusive club where you get the first news on something. And so you can frame or tease your launch out that way on social into the various community, audience building communities that you participate in.
Yeah, you might even have a VIP segment within your email, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if not, you might even want to consider doing that right now.
Yeah. And how you define the VIP is up to you, but often it's going to be the people that are clicking or opening, probably more than opening, but clicking or making purchases or, engaging in some consistent manner.
Yeah.
That's just another like creative way to generate that engagement too with your loyal audience and thinking outside of the box and, not just saying like, oh, you get it early. It's like, oh, here's the code to get access to it. Maybe it's not access to your site, but it's like, here's your specific code that, either gives you that early access or gives you a little bit more of a discount or whatever it is for a VIP list.
Yeah, and it's something that I think it's one of those little things that goes a long way in building that like mutually beneficial connection between you and your audience. You're benefiting from it and that you're getting higher email opens, higher engagement on your emails, clicks, sales, whatever it is. And you're also fostering a relationship with them where they feel like they're getting a personalized, like white glove treatment experience from you, where it really does make you feel like, oh, I'm part of this special club. Yeah. Like I am recognized by this brand that I clearly like enough that I have like spent a lot of money with them, or I've done a lot to engage with them, or whatever it is. Like that reciprocity is nice from a consumer perspective, for sure.
Yeah.
We kind of already talked about the idea of building and testing your emails when we talked about templates, but I think that it's important, like, we tested the templates. We said test the templates to make sure everything looks good before you build all of your emails. And then it turns out something's wrong in them. Mm-hmm. But then you are still going to want to build out your emails and test them. I don't think
the campaign itself. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think a single email goes out at Lulu without somebody else other than you like laying eyes on it. Right. We send a lot of emails,
We do.
Of emails, and every single one of them gets reviewed by at least one other person just to test and make sure, does this, did I miss anything, or did Lori miss anything? Did I miss anything? Did Paul miss anything? Does this email look really good on desktop, but on mobile, like looks like it's really weird, or it didn't work out. Like this one thing, like this special feature, like didn't work or whatever. You got to test that stuff, especially if you're putting all of this effort in. You really don't want to trip at the finish line like that. You want to make sure everything looks good if you're going to put this much work into it.
Yeah, once you're kind of into the campaign planning and aside from, the logistics and making sure that everything's functioning, a lot of times the copy that you've written, which P.S., if you haven't written your copy yet, did we talk about that? You definitely want to do that before you put it into email. But it often looks a lot different in the email than it does in a copy doc.
Yes.
Because, we'll write all of our copy in a separate doc, and then I'll bring it into our ESP. And at that time, it's like, oh, actually, this is too much, or it's not clear, or, whatever it is, you want to kind of, my best advice would be to batch create all that stuff, like batch create your copy, batch create the emails, since a campaign could be sending anywhere from 3 to 10 to 20 emails, depending on, the audience and how long this campaign is going to last. So yeah, getting it out of your copy doc and into the email and testing those emails is good advice. And on top of that, if you are running promos, create those promos, check that the code's actually functioning and it's working as intended, while you're testing the email out.
There's no danger this is something that would never have occurred to me until I worked in a place where this was relevant. there is no danger to you in creating a promo code and setting it live before the campaign itself actually starts, because you haven't shared it with anybody yet.
Right.
Nobody is going to like
Guess
jailbreak your laptop and find out what your 20% off promo code is. It's not that deep. So like, you know, it's okay if you say my campaign, like my big sale of the year doesn't start until Monday, but I'm going to set the promo code to go live on Saturday so that I can do one last round of testing and make sure everything is working before it goes live. Because you really don't want to find yourself in the position of Monday morning, your campaign has gone live, your email is out there, and a bunch of people are coming to your website to buy your book, and then you get 25 emails from customers going, your promo code doesn't work.
The face you just made.
I mean, it's a personal pet peeve,
Oh
but
my gosh.
from both sides of the coin, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, but that is something that you really do not want to have to deal with. And the only way to guarantee that you don't have to deal with that is to give yourself the buffer of setting that code live ahead of time and testing it and making sure it works.
Yeah, I do that every single week.
Yeah.
For Lulu promos.
Yeah, for sure. Which you should. I mean, it's an important part of it. In the same way that you would, you know, if this campaign is, if the email campaign that you're doing is that you're announcing the launch of your new website, you'd want to test to make sure that website works, right?
Yeah,
like
all
you
the
want
links
to,
are working.
right. If you're announcing the launch of your new book, you want to make sure that, and you're selling direct from your website, you want to make sure that your shop is set up correctly, that your checkout experience, these are all things that we've talked about in other episodes. Like you want to make sure that the customer experience is as seamless as possible from the minute they first encounter you to after their checkout experience is over. Like you want every step to be as smooth as possible. So you have to give yourself the opportunity to build this stuff out ahead of time and test it and make sure it's all working ahead of time.
Yeah, good advice.
Which is also why you're going to want to schedule this stuff in advance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least your, you know, first couple emails, and then, you know, keeping that flexibility open, as Matt would say, in case something comes up. You want to, you know, if you schedule every single one, then you might kind of go back and unschedule something to adjust it. So at least your pre-launch and your launch email, and then, you know, you can go back to your plan like halfway through your launch, or, you know, halfway through the week, and decide, okay, is the next phase of emails that I was going to send, do I still want to follow this plan, or do I need to make, you know, a copy adjustment, or maybe I've sold out and I don't want to continue to promote it? Like whatever it is, you can check in and then schedule the rest of those emails.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can always unschedule an email, right?
You can always unschedule.
As long as it hasn't sent yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless it's like, sometimes it, you know, if you wait too long and it's scheduled for, I don't know, a couple hours from, you sometimes you can't unschedule those, but
you can't unring the bell. You
Yes.
can't take it back after it's already been sent.
right.
And it's a lot easier to turn it off and change your mind on it than it is to have it be 11 p.m. the night before a campaign is supposed to launch and you're frantically scheduling tomorrow's email because,
Yeah.
I mean, queen of procrastination over here. I'm not judging anybody for doing that. I'm just saying, don't do it to yourself if you can avoid it.
Yeah. We're going to stay on our schedule and plan ahead, leave some room for flexibility, but we're not going to be scrambling the night before.
And
right?
this episode is definitely not going to be as long as the first time we attempted to record it.
Okay.
Technically, we have not
Done.
hit that. Technically, we have not hit that spot yet. Just saying. There's still time for us to be under the
Okay. All right.
under the target.
Well, then the last thing I will say about this whole scheduling thing is,
Yes.
once you, after you've got your email scheduled, and really after your campaign, which this might be something to save for later, but keep in mind any of the like pieces of content that you might want to use for Evergreen, and you can usually save those in your email platform as Evergreen content. So you can save a block so that you don't have to recreate it for a future email. You can just save it as universal content and then pop that baby back in another email.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Saves a lot of time.
Which is also why it's useful to plan all this stuff in advance and have all this, like have an understanding of the overall picture of all this so that you know what can be.
Right.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
I feel like an email marketer. Perfect. All right. Well, I feel like that kind of leads us into the point where we've scheduled it. It's live. It's out there. We're live. We're out there. We've sent emails. We're starting to do things, and now we just kick our heels up and pour a glass of wine and do nothing. Right?
I mean, you can do all of that except for do nothing.
Okay. So I can monitor my campaign. Heels up. Heels off, honestly. Feet up, heels off. Chilling, watching my campaign. But what am I watching for? What am I monitoring in a campaign once it's gone live?
Yeah, you want to watch that performance and, decide. The first thing you're going to do is decide if you're going to send a remail. And you might just build this into your scheduled campaign to send another email, maybe with a different subject line, to anyone that hadn't opened yet. So it's not a different email. It's just a remail of the same one that will catch anyone that may have missed your first email.
Happens.
Yeah, especially during, a big holiday season, if this is what you're planning for, because so many companies are sending emails, it's very easy to skip things. So it's also common for companies to send the same email multiple times in a day or over a few days, just because it might get missed. And since you've kind of increased your frequency, you can do that because the inboxes will expect it and won't flag that as something weird. But yeah, you just want to circle back and revisit those goals that you set at the beginning of your planning and watch the performance. So I sent my email out. Oh, I've got like 2 sales this morning. I want to hit 10 by Wednesday. Like, what is that performance trending towards? And do I need to make any adjustments to meet that goal?
Yeah, you can't make adjustments to help you meet your goals after the campaign has ended. So It doesn't work that way, unfortunately. So if you wait until your campaign has ended to go back and review your metrics, you don't have any opportunity to try to course correct or try to make some changes in order to increase your odds of meeting your goal. So definitely, for sure. And I say this with this is coming from social media marketing as much as it is from email marketing. When we do, when I used to do our holiday campaigns for social media, which were 3-month-long campaigns, this was not like a 1-week campaign. This was an extended window of time. I would track those metrics weekly. I had an insane, stupid spreadsheet that was literally like a week by week and then cumulative over time. And then even comparing to previous years and comparing to other social channels so that I could pivot and make those adjustments on the fly.
Yeah, that's a good point to check in on that weekly.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be every day.
Yeah, adjust it to however long your specific campaign is. If your campaign is only 2 weeks long, I would say maybe don't wait until the end of week 1 to check in. Right. But you don't have to check every 3 hours.
It's really hard to not do that, but that's good advice.
I understand. I used to sit at Thanksgiving with just my laptop open, laptop in one hand, glass of wine in the other, and my whole family would be like, "Are you joining us?" And I'd be like, "I'm here. Okay? I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just hitting refresh on Meta business profile or looking at Meta Ads Manager.
Oh
it's
my
fine.
gosh.
Don't worry about it."
Favorite way to spend Thanksgiving?
Yeah, pretty much. Gets the job done every time. Of course, if you are on track to meet your goals, we're not saying that you're absolutely definitely not going to get it right, especially if you've done campaigns before. If this is not your first rodeo, chances are you are doing well and that your planning was for good purpose and good reason and your campaign is on track. In which case, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I don't want people to think that they're going to have to
Right.
make a pivot or change things up. Like you only want to do that if you're seeing signals that you're not going to meet your goal.
Yes. Whether those signals are just, noticing that your open rates are lower than you were hoping for, or can you see like data on whether or not your emails were filtered into spam folders from your end?
You can see bounce.
Okay.
And you can see if someone like marked your email as spam.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's like bounce is going to give you a couple different categories of reasons why it would bounce, which could be interpreted as spam by the inbox provider, like Gmail or whatever. But you can see if an individual marked your email as spam. Yeah. Which your ESP is going to automatically unsubscribe those users, so you don't have to worry about doing that on your own.
Well, so that can you see unsubscribes from a specific email?
Mm-hmm.
So can you, so like, if you notice that you had a higher than average number of unsubscribes after one specific email in your campaign, and you had a very similar email planned for phase 2 of your campaign, you might want to turn that off, reschedule that, something. So pay attention to customer feedback like that, but also pay attention to customer feedback that comes directly from them.
Yeah.
You're going to hear from your
reply.
customers. Yes. Yeah. Replies, social comments. If you're doing SMS, they might respond to your text messages, which is always a weird reminder to consider that's even an option, but it is. And, you're not just going to want to pay attention to the complaints and negatives, but also pay attention to the wins.
Yeah. Pay more attention to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are important to have.
They are.
Yeah. And they're important to have because at the end of your campaign, when you're wrapping everything up, when you have finally reached that point where it has successfully run its course, you want to know what performed well as much as you want to know what didn't perform well.
Right.
You want to be able to gather all of your metrics, all your data, and have a high level and granular look at, okay, what can I definitely, absolutely have to make sure I do again next time because it worked super well this time? What do I never want to do again? What was one thing that I noticed in here that, this inspired me to think that maybe next time I should try doing this thing. Didn't get a chance to try it this time around, but I want to try it next time. Pro tip, write that down. Do not assume that you're going to remember it next time. If you have an idea, write it down.
Put it in your brain forever.
Yeah. Tattoo it somewhere.
Tattoo it on your palm.
Sure. That'll wear off eventually. Palm tattoos wear off.
Yeah, I guess they do, don't they? Yeah.
People have to get hand tattoos touched up all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point. I like the debrief of what worked, what didn't work, and what could, potentially it would have worked if this or this or this, or, you can use that data to then again test, write down your ideas and write down what worked, but also continue to test things out because it's not always clear why something didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned, can you see who unsubscribes? I mean, you don't always know why somebody unsubscribes. There are certain things that you can get that feedback from someone, but really if they've unsubscribed, it's don't ask them for anything. It's not going to help you. But it could be that they just hadn't heard from you in a year because you didn't do that list cleaning, or maybe it was the content. There's a lot of different reasons. So I would just keep an open mind about why something didn't work. And is there a pattern that you could then understand the reason behind it going forward? Yeah.
Because hopefully this is something that you'll do again. If this is your first ever email campaign, hopefully you'll do it again at some point because you'll have another big sale or another book launch or another product launch. If this is not your first time doing it, then it's even more likely that you'll do it again at some point because clearly this is a part of your general business strategy.
Yeah.
So do future you a solid and set them up for success by taking the time now to make note of the things that you want to remember for the next time around.
Yeah, absolutely. Because email is always going to be one of your number one channels for success for a big launch. So take advantage of it.
Absolutely.
And plan it accordingly. There
we go. Because next time around, you're going to start with a whole 2 months before your campaign starts. Exactly. And the cycle continues back at the beginning.
Yes.
I think we had a lot to say in here, and I think we shared a lot of really valuable insights into email campaign management. So thank you, Lori, for coming to share your expertise with us.
Oh, thanks for having me again.
Anytime.
See you next time.
I was going to say anytime, please. If you have any questions for Lori or for us in general, you can always reach out to us. You can email podcast@lulu.com. You can leave comments on YouTube or Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I don't remember what other platforms. I'm so disconnected from my own brain right now. I don't remember what other social channels we're on. All of them. Lulu's on all of them. You can find that all in the show notes. You can also like and subscribe, please. And if you are not already subscribed to Lulu's emails, please do. Lori sends some incredible emails out that have all kinds of fun content, promo codes, exclusive things like that in there. And you will have a little insider look at knowing, like, I know who wrote this and who put it together and who sent it.
That's
because
true.
You listened to this podcast.
That's right. Yeah. Lots of marketing tips in there too from all the amazing content. And you'll also be the first to know about podcast episodes that come out.
Yeah. Well, you could also be the first to know about new podcast episodes if you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. So if you're not already doing that, please do.
That is a more direct way to get the podcast episode.
But also subscribe to our email. Subscribe to everything. Just subscribe. And in the meantime, while you're eagerly waiting for next week's episode, let us know what you want to hear more about. And whether it's email marketing or otherwise, we'll be happy to talk more about all that soon. Till then, thank you so much again, Lori. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
And thanks to everyone for listening. We'll see you next week. To learn more about this episode, check out the show notes on publishprosperpodcast.com. Publish and Prosper is brought to you by Lulu.com. To hear more episodes like this one, please like and subscribe wherever you listen. Thanks for tuning in.